We welcome now to the broadcast Wisconsin's Senator Ron Johnson. Ron, thanks very much for making the effort to link up with us here today on America's Forum.
Well, JD, how are you doing?
Doing fine. We know you're a busy man, and we'll get to what goes on with the Foreign Relations Committee. But the whole situation with Hillary Clinton, it seems every time we get together, we have to talk about this because of what went on in committee a matter of months ago, last year. Let's take a look at the exchange and what exactly happened when you were asking then Secretary Clinton some questions about Benghazi.
Again, we were misled that there were supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. And the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
There have been, as you know, a number of investigations, including the independent one that the State Department commissioned, as well as many in Congress. There are answers, not all of them, not enough, frankly. I'm still looking for answers because it was a confusing and difficult time. But I would hope that every American would understand, number one, why we were there, because we need to be in dangerous places, and number two, that we're doing the best we can to find out what happened. And I hope that fair-minded people will look at that seriously.
Senator Johnson, we added in a segment from Mrs. Clinton's recent appearance on CNN with a town hall situation. A very different response from what she had to say that day to you in the committee hearing. Now that you've successfully won a seat in the United States Senate, you're not a stranger to politics. Hearing Hillary's new response to Benghazi, is she sounding more and more like a presidential candidate?
Well, that's obviously why she's subjected herself to this process, but she's being totally disingenuous. She says we need a lot of answers. Well, she can provide an awful lot of those answers. You know, she says she's taking responsibility. What is she specifically taking responsibility for? The fact that by law she was the only one that could have waived the security standards from Benghazi, the fact that she, her State Department not only didn't provide the security requested, the increased security, they actually ramped down security, and as a result, 4 Americans died. I mean, is she taking responsibility for her dereliction of duty? What's she taking responsibility for? What did she do during that evening, during those attacks? What did she talk to President Obama about at 10 o'clock at night when the two of those had a conversation? Then at 10:08, the State Department put out a press release that was the first indication they were going to start blaming the inflammatory material on the Internet. In other words, the video. Were they just hatching their cover-up scheme in that 10 o'clock call, or were they actually concerned about the people on the ground in Benghazi? I don't know. We've got a lot of questions for Secretary Clinton. She should be answering those questions, and she's not.
And will she be required? Are you prepared to subpoena her yet again and bring her before the committee?
Well, again, right now the only committee that's showing any interest in this, of course, is on the House side. I serve in the Senate. The Democrats are in control. There's not a whole lot of curiosity from Democrats in the Senate to get to the truth of what happened in Benghazi. So currently, that's all sitting in the House. If we are fortunate enough, if the American people decide they want the truth, if they have finally decided that President Obama and the Democrats' policies are making them less secure from the standpoint of national security, job security, income security, health care security, and they actually grant Republicans the majority in the Senate, then we'll have the curiosity on our side of Capitol Hill here. We'll start holding hearings, and I would absolutely subpoena Hillary Clinton, because the American people, particularly the survivors of those 4 dead Americans, deserve the truth finally.
Ron, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe on your schedule this afternoon, the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations behind closed doors to talk about the swap Bo Bergdahl for the Taliban 5. I believe there was a bicameral session yesterday. We've got about a minute and a half remaining. Can you fill us in on what's happening there?
Well, my experience of these secure briefings, JD, is I find out far more in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. I hate to be so cynical, but my experience with these secure briefings is they're primarily designed to keep senators from talking. Because you go in there and supposedly all this stuff is classified, and then we read about it the following day in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. So I don't have great expectations of hearing more. Listen, the American people understand what happened here. President Obama wants to close Guantanamo Bay. I think he released 5 of the most hardened Taliban, basically filling up Mullah Omar's cabinet. And even his own commission that was primarily designed to close down Guantanamo said 48 of those detainees should never be released because they're so dangerous. All 5 of those Taliban leaders were part of that 48. It's incomprehensible why this president would put American national security in so much danger, other than maybe to change the story on the VA scandal. I have no idea. There's so many disasters that are occurring one right after another. It's hard to take them all in. It's hard to understand the extent of the damage being done by this administration, both domestically and internationally.
Quick note, about 30 seconds left, a proposal to raise the gas tax. Bob Corker and Chris Murphy putting it forward. Are you in favor of that? What do you think should happen with the recommendation to increase the gas taxes for transportation?
My strong preference, and by the way, the federal government does have a role in providing infrastructure. I think that'd be good for our economy. We have to compete globally. But the way to replenish the Federal Highway Trust Fund is let's identify waste and lower priority spending items.
So reform instead of raising taxes. We're up against the clock. Thanks very much, Senator.